Welcome to Furry's Guides. This is part 2 of our auction house guide. This will break down a couple of methods you can use to make gold off the auction house. We're also going to include some tips for selling. If you don't know the basics of the auction house, there's a link in the top right corner of your screen. Go ahead and check that out first. When it comes to the auction house, there's 3 main things you can do for gold: crafting and selling, bidding, and buy low, sell high. We'll try to break down each method and how to implement them. When it comes to buying items, then crafting into other items, all to finally sell them off for a profit, definitely works. Open your auction house window and we'll take a look at meat for an example. We can see that this meat will cost 5 labor and process into 30 trim meat. It will cost 1 blue salt knife, and we'll need at least 10 of them to craft into 30. Now, before we go ahead and start buying, let's take a look at what the trim meat is going for. You can see that currently it's going for 2 silver, 29 copper. But let's check out the graph in history to make sure of some things. We can see that the item does average out at about 2 silver. We'll count it a little bit lower since the market is dropping. This is normal, they go up and down, and you can also make gold reselling these in between peaks. One of the main things is to look below at the other graphs. What it's telling us is the highs and lows the items sold for, and again, we can almost safely say that the average is about 2 silver still. But it also tells us how many sell. And in this graph, we can see that 30,000 to even 100,000 have sold. This item, at least at this time, is selling in good numbers daily, and you may be able to flip it. Now we need to figure out what our profit would be before we do it, and in time you'll be able to do the math much faster, but never just guess. It's going to cost us 3 silver, 97 copper apiece per meat at the moment. And we will need at least 10 of them to make 1 batch of 30 trim meat. So we take the 3.97 times 10, and we're going to spend about 39.7 silver for 10. So we need to figure out just how much we're showing the potential to sell them for, which was the average of 2 silver per trim meat. So we know we will get 30 trim meat out of the 10 we would be buying and crafting. So we take the 30 and times it by 2 silver apiece, which will give us 60 silver. But you still need to remember, you will have to pay a 10% total sales fee and a deposit. So your 10% is easy. You just take 60 silver, times it by 0.1, and you will get 6. That is 6 silver you need to pay in auction house fees once it sells. As for the deposit, it always costs you a price based on how long you list it for. And those prices are: 6-hour listing is a 1% fee, 12 hours is a 2% fee, 24 hours is a 3% fee, and a 48-hour listing is 5%. Listing fees will also never go over 100 gold total on expensive items, so that is the most you can pay. So we know that 60 silver is what the total sale is going to be once we sell. So we just need to compensate for the 1% mentioned for the listing. 60 times 0.01 gives us a deposit fee of 60 copper. Lastly, if you have a thatched house, you can save the expense of blue salt knives. But if not, count it in your fees, and they cost 50 copper a piece. So now we take away all cost from our 60 silver. So 60 minus 39 silver and 70 copper that we spent on buying the materials, minus the 10% for fees, which was 6 silver, minus 1% for the deposit, which was 60 copper, and minus 50 copper for the blue salt knife. So our total profit we're going to make off of every 10 of the meat we buy at the moment is 13 silver and 20 copper. So now if you bought 1,000, you can take the 1,000, divide it by 10, which equals 100, Times that by the 13 silver, 20 copper, 13.2, which equals 1,320. Then just divide that number by 100, since every 100 silver is equal to 1 gold, which gives us 13 gold profit we should be making at minimum, give or take if it's listing for a little more. So off the example in the video, we invested 11 gold, 91 silver into just 300 meat. Not much, right? We know it's something that seems to sell and crafted it up to 900 trim meat. And now it has sold for 18 gold, 96 silver. So just off that, we made a quick 7 gold, 5 silver. Start spreading your skills around and you can make a steady flow of gold just doing this task. To max out the potential profits, you should farm the materials and grind them up yourself, but we'll make another video on figuring out your profits there. Bidding on items. When you're bidding on items, a lot of people like to just click on bid prices and browse through a ton of pages. The problem with this is oftentimes you're just going to end up with a mailbox full of messages with bid refunds and junky items you can't sell. So we'll try our best to break it down in details on how to win bids. First thing you're going to want to do is go to your auction house and don't worry about bothering with the drop down bar for buying. Then go to the time left type search by clicking it here. Click it until you see the lowest times left. And the reason why we do this, if you're going to try to win auctions, you want to fight for the ones that you're going to be online for. So, if you only plan on playing for 4 hours, then search items up to and around the 4-hour marker. This will not only lower down how many auctions you're trying to keep track of, but you'll also stick to the ones that you can be there to fight for. Now remember to check your graphs and see what things are selling for, how many sell, and what they're worth on average, not its current listings. But if you can get something for its scrap value, which you just hover over its picture and you will see it at the bottom, I would go for it, since you can just scrap it to a vendor if you just don't have the time to sell. And it's at such a low price that you can experiment with the item. However, you really want to try and grab things up that will sell faster. When you do bid on items, you should take notes, especially if you see other bids on the item. It's a good heads up that someone is ready to fight you for that item and will probably need to be on top of that bid even more. Once you make your choices and take your notes, you're now going to want to keep an eye on your bid history tab at the top left of the auction house window. Remember when you're watching bids to every now and then switch between tabs or close and reopen your auction house to make sure timers are up to date. Select the items worth the most on their final moments and just spam out bid and then hit confirm. You can also listen to your mailbox for the sound that tells you that you've been outbid. The faster you keep this going and stay on top of it until it does make the sounds, that it gives you a much better chance of winning the item. If you've got time in between the bids, go check the market again for chances to bid on another newly placed or low timer item. But keep track of time, and when things are about to go out, this is the most key thing to winning the bids. And lastly, buying items just to flip them without bids also works out most of the time. You just need to look at the item and always check that graph. If you see something for 100 gold and it usually sells for an average of 200 to 300 gold and sells often enough, then you can flip it. More expensive items will sell. Most times they just take more time and won't show you as much data since they're not purchased as often. The more you check out items, the more you'll start to remember things and their price, making you faster at buying good deals. The more you perfect these skills, the better at buying and selling you become, because buying is not like bidding. You need to act fast, so it pays to study and see the different items and their values. So now we're down to just a few quick tips. Never put all your gold into one item, because if it fails, then you could end up broke. If you do make mistakes, just take notes of it. Get out there, farm some coin purses or something if you need to get yourself back in the game before you lose touch with your numbers and notes. Don't throw your nose up at small items or smaller profits. Don't just go for expensive items all the time. Little bits can start to add up pretty fast. Be patient. If you can't wait on better times to sell things or the right prices to pay, then you've already lost the auction house game. Know when to move on. If you're buying something that's making you gold, so be it. But if you're buying something barely breaking even and have stacks of it, you should probably consider stashing some and liquidating the rest and move on. But do keep an eye on the market each time to see if it goes back up for the ones that you kept. Take the gold you make and always replace your investment. If you spent 500 gold the other day, you don't just get to spend it all on yourself until you make that 500 gold back. Then you should take half the profits over that to try to increase your investment savings, building them higher and higher. Whatever half the profits are, put that in your warehouse, and that's the money you get to spend on anything your heart wants to. This is what a lot of people do, and why they have numbers like 40,000 gold on them, yet won't give you any. Because they won't touch their investment gold, and they keep stocking it up. No one gets rich by giving away investment money. That's all we've got for you in this video, guys. We'll try working on other videos about making gold. We'll link them up here at the end when they're ready. Thanks for watching. Give this video a like if it helped you. Go ahead and subscribe just to tell us you want more of these videos. And go ahead and leave a comment below if you've got some feedback for us or just want to say hi. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next one.